Look, if you've been following me for a while, you know I like to try to be open and transparent. If I make mistakes, I try to correct them, and I try not to avoid talking about my losses. Now, I don't like talking about them a lot because I don't like having a negative attitude towards what I'm going to do next. I try to stay positive, to be positive. I think that is very important, but it is also good to acknowledge mistakes that are made so that in the future, I don't make them again, right? And I think that this is what everyone should do. And I think it's also important to acknowledge when I make mistakes because it shows people like, hey, to be a trader, you don't have to be perfect, right? We make mistakes. So if you look at my performance since the beginning of the year, I'm still up right now. However, I've given a pretty good chunk of the gains that I've made since the beginning of the year back over the past 3 weeks. It's been rough performance right now for me in this market. And that's a little odd to say when the market's been so bullish, right? But I think what I've done is a classic mistake that I have a tendency to fall for it, and I've fallen for it again, where I'm letting my bearish fundamentals take over too much of my short-term trading. This market has been melting up, and even though I see so many bearish indicators and theses, the potential for liquidity to get evaporated out of the market, when I look at the bond yield curve, it's pricing in 0% interest rates for the end of the year. I mean, this is really bearish stuff. And if that last comment didn't make sense, just keep in mind, COVID crash wasn't even as bad as what the bond markets are pricing into the market right now, which sounds odd. When you look at the market right now, it's extremely bullish. If we look at NVIDIA, for instance, I mean, this stock has completely skyrocketed, and that chart is not viewable to you at all. If we go back to our 1 hour performance, we hit 318 today. I did not mean to draw that, but we're also at a 79 RSI. And if I'm looking at this stock right now, I was tempted to even set up the short today, but I've also been sitting on my hands a lot in this market because I'm trying not to get burned too bad. Now I'm slowly giving away. So, I'm sitting on quite a bit of paper losses because I am net short on the market right now. Did make a great trade with Snow today, chased that on the upside after the AI news. If you saw that video this morning, it was supposed to come out last night, but I woke up to a bunch of notifications that those videos didn't upload yesterday. But, I got it out. And that ended up being a good trade. It was between 40 to 67%, depending on which strike you bought. I bought 2 strikes for a day trade today. That was great, but there were other opportunities in the market that I didn't take because overall, I'm still finding it hard to be bullish and to overlook the issues I see in the market. I also have this idea that the instant I get bullish and give up on being bearish, that's probably when this market crashes. And I know that's probably what's going to happen with a lot of the retail traders as well. As soon as they stop being bearish, the market is going to actually be bearish. And I think we're starting to see that play out as the S&P approaches 420, which, that's a crazy level today. We've seen the market actually hit it in the after hours. I'm actually just now noticing this. Again, if we go out to the 1-day chart, we've just now hit to the upside. Meaning this market could go to 420, 430. I'd be looking at 440 maybe even as a potential in the short term. I don't think the short term rally is done. And I've also posted charts that further back this up in the Discord. If you're a subscriber, you've seen me post some of these semiconductor charts and how this looks bullish to me, and I have not acted on it. So much money has been left on the table in the past 3 weeks, and that's totally on me. So I just want to own up to that of like, hey, I probably should have been chasing more of this upside for these short-term gains. Now, I still think that majority of the money to be made is actually to the downside and then buying the dip that then results from that. Whenever it comes around, I'll be here for it, and I'm already getting positioned for it. I'm still sitting on a fair amount of cash, but this past 3 weeks have been pretty mediocre for performance, especially with my standards. We went on a hot winning streak for like a month and a half before I kind of hit this lull. And I think another thing that I've wrongly done is when people in the Discord talk about how bullish the market looks and they are taking calls and they're excited about it, I'm not really reciprocating. I've been kind of zoned into what I'm focused on, what I'm looking for next, which is kind of what you need to do to be a successful trader anyways. And that's also kind of what led me into this mistake. If you aren't aware, who I usually talk to are long-term investors and hedge fund managers, broker dealers, people who have a 1, 2, 3, 5, 10-year time frame on the positions they take and how they're looking at the market. They're protecting people's money, hard-earned money. So if they even get a hint of that, the fact that this market could revisit lows from last year, of course they're not going to be positioned bullish now. They're going to be looking to protect those assets, to protect those people's money, as is their fiduciary responsibility. So now that I've got that all out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about what's going on in the market right now. Sorry if there's a background noise. I have a fan on. It is extremely hot in here. I'm not turning that fan off. But if we actually look at the AI trend, and not just the stock AI, although it has been very bullish, we had that short report hit the stock. We saw this massive decline. Buyers have stepped right back in just because of the FOMO that is AI. Everyone wants a piece of AI. That led to this trade that we made on Snow. We saw Snow bounce in the after hours, opened, gapping down. I could have gotten a little bit sooner into this trade. I probably should have, to be honest. We went ahead and took that at the open, though. Looked like it was going to give us some trouble, but the rest of the market is bullish. It just got carried with it. And if we look at also at NVIDIA and AMD, remember, these are the ones that I've been saying are going to be the big winners, right? And if we also scale out here, look at this. I was saying that this is a potential wave 3 developing here. And actually, if we go ahead and take a look at where we would expect our wave to go, we could be seeing a potential of $120 for AMD still to the upside. If we also look at the daily chart, we're at a 7.2 RSI, but this could easily run further than that, especially if NVIDIA has a good earnings coming up, And so if we also look at this one day, though, NVIDIA also at a 72 RSI, pretty hefty RSI here. I think on the 1 hour, we're also at a 79. So maybe we see a pullback this Friday before we see some more upside on these semiconductor stocks. Overall, I think this is just huge FOMO. If we actually look at the valuation, like we talked about last week, if we look at the valuations, any indicators that we use to show how overvalued companies are, NVIDIA is one of the most overbought companies right now, and it's because everyone's trying to find ways to make money off AI. But this stuff, even though it's making money when it comes to the chip stocks, these companies are still just overall overvalued. And also when it comes to companies like Snow, who knows how much they can even profit off of this purchase for this company. Or with Google, where, hey, if they want to profit off of this, they're likely going to need to sell off, or they're going to have to cannibalize different parts of their company. The search revenue for Google is literally like 59% of their income. Okay, so you're talking about, and that's just from ad revenue, right? You're literally talking about eliminating that much of their revenue, and you think this stock's going to continue to melt up against that? No, I just don't buy it. There's no way. Now, if we're talking short term, though, if we do see an announcement that Google is going to start charging for Bard AI, similar to what we've seen with ChatGPT 3, that will be extremely bullish for the stock. Now, I don't think that that's the most likely outcome. I think that they're probably going to want to keep Bard free so that they can stay competitive against the rest of the competition within the AI space. I think ChatGPT has definitely given them a run for their money, although we've seen lots of improvement from the Bard AI, especially when they started using Palm AI to further enhance Bard. It still makes wild mistakes. They still could be open to regulation, but this might not be a negative for the company. It could be a positive. A lot of times when regulation comes around, it usually plays into the favor of the big players and then just suppresses all the small players. Government sucks. But if we actually look at this chart right now, because I've been blown out of some shorts here, this is actually where I've probably burned the most money over the past 3 weeks, is trying to come in short on Google. Ended up blowing me out of that again. But we can see that we're at a 78 RSI. Historically, this has always led to some sell-offs in the stock. And I think that we could see this playing out again. Could see it, that the double top is formed right here and this stock's about to sell off. Or it could continue to rally. And for what could cause this market to continue to the upside would probably be a resolution of this conversation that just got updated 14 minutes ago, and that's U.S. hardliners could try to block debt ceiling deal without robust cuts. Look, this is a big deal because it's kind of right now priced in the market to be more likely than ever that the U.S. defaults. Now, this could be catastrophic. I mean, absolutely catastrophic if we default. I can't even begin to even comprehend all the issues that it would cause. I just know that it's super bad. Okay, I don't even have enough knowledge to really unpack all the ways that this would screw up the economy, but it's maybe catastrophic. And people want to see a resolution to this. Now, this is also a conversation that happens all the time and it always gets resolved. That said, people still want the clarification that this will be resolved. And I think once you get that, you could see the market rally again. And if we actually look for what looks ready to rally again, I've been keeping an eye on small caps. And there's a lot of companies, including miners here, that I think are really interesting buys right now in the market. And I've actually been talking about them in the Discord for a minute now. But if we look at IWM, Russell 2000, it's been underperforming these big players for a while. And I'm thinking, okay, if the market wants to be bullish in the short term, maybe we need to start looking at these small caps and I can make up for some of this sitting on my hands that I've been doing. This could be a potential that we actually see play out. Now, this video is already getting a bit long, but let me just clarify one thing. I still think that most of the money that you could probably make this year is going to be playing the downside on this market when it does turn over, when there is a recession. I am still fundamentally bearish if we're talking on the next year time frame. All right. So I'm going to be doing a little bit better on my trading, not letting my bearish fundamentals on a longer macro time frame that takes months to play out affect what I'm doing today or tomorrow or for the next week. But I still think that later on, I'll be looking at that as like, that's my payday to this year, is probably to play this market to the downside or for these long treasury calls that I have to pay out as well. I think that could easily probably be one of the best trades that I make this year. So that's going to be it. I'll be talking about, different stocks in Discord. I'll probably put up a few names that I'm looking at right now. Charles Schwab actually being one of them, a bank. Holy cow. Yeah, I think it's historically cheap right now. I might be adding it to my long term finally. I also think there's a company I got down here, Array. They make all the transmissions for the EV vehicles. They look like an okay buy right now. I'll also be looking at some of the miners. There's also utility companies, CEG, CCJ, I think are also good potential buys coming up here soon. I've posted the charts in the Discord as well. It's all in there. It's a tool for you to use, right? Even if you're not a subscriber, not paying for the subscription, I try to post lots of content for free. And there's also a lot of great members who have joined recently. One of them just murdered me in the gym today. Competitive bodybuilder who's also a stock analyst. But try to get back in shape, right? And we're going to get this portfolio and this trading back in shape as well. It's going to be awesome. So hopefully coming off of a lull, a little bit of a losing streak, to get right back in shape. And I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be great.